Yeah, and that is a great second phase. That is just the most annoying lane in Dota with one of the highest kill potentials. And the last time, Scourge just owned it. He rocked it. He was out farming a Naga Siren. He was absolutely killing it. So I love every part of this. And really reactively picked up versus the Dawnbreaker. You're saying, well, if it's a Dawnbreaker carry, well, we're going to out carry that. If it's going to have to be a shift up and it's a 5 Dawnbreaker, well, we can also spin out of that. Is just the perfect counter versus everything that SG have until this point. And Yuma Faceless Void. Okay. One concern, you don't have any damage really in that chrono just yet. That's where I think last pick here for KXY, you're gonna need a little bit more damage just to make Yuma's life a tad bit easier. But otherwise, it's still Faceless Void and a hero that no team has really valued too much. It's ticked off a lot of boxes in some of these drafts coming into these later stages, but just ended up getting avoided. I think, again, because it's not as free, it's not as easy. All of the nice aspects of the hero before with Time Walk just got kind of ripped out of your hands, especially the range with the Shard. Just makes the hero a little bit more difficult to play. But it is still AoE control. It's still another ultimate ability on that same scale as Arena and Solar Guardian. It is right up there. Now, again, though, need a DPSer. Need somebody for KXY who might be able to carry something that you kind of lack now from Yuma. But Yuma also one of the Void players who, again, has a very stable performance. I think him, Stonebank, I want to say even Dodd to a certain extent, even though Dodd likes to play range carries a little bit more, have been the more stable Faceless Voids in this tournament, and absolutely love what they've been able to do for their teams, and they certainly bring a lot, but we'll have to see. And you're against a Visage, which will kind of be annoying because Visage is just gonna, bap you over and over again with the Soul Assumption, but we'll see.
See how much of that damage he can avoid. In the meantime, both sides take an aim at that middle lane here, the cut, removing the Queen of Pain. Would not be surprised to see the Lina ban here as well, right? Specifically with KXY in mind as that opposing mid laner that gives them that damage dealer into the chrono and also gives them a hero not cooldown dependent like their other two cores will be. So see if that's a direction the cut look to go for with this ban. Otherwise, I don't know, ET, what else would they be looking at? Because a lot of those mid options have already been taken away.
Yeah, I think the easy one for the cut is looking at Ember Spirit, probably. Just seems like the most obvious pickup for them. Just knowing what Nico likes to play and seeing what their opponents are banning out already, it does kind of seem like a setup. And they ban out the Lena. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. The only issue is, of course, picking Ember Spirit in the down position means that SG could get cheeky with it and then just counter pick you and say no. And okay,
Mm-hmm.
no Ember Spirit. Never mind. Taken away. So now it's a battle of perhaps Void Spirit versus Storm, and we'll see.
There's the Void.
And there's the Void Spirit, and now, well, you say, do we pick Storm Spirit to now play against you? Do we pick the Spirit that has a slight advantage in lane, or do we look for the Shadow Fiend and then say, well, you're a little bit screwed right now because you're a melee hero versus SF, and then of course that would be a hero to chain up yet again with Faceless Void. And honestly, if you don't have damage, then might as well just change stun into chain stun, because currently we've got Chronosphere into Solar Guardian into what could be Fear from the SF. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
like quite an annoying team fight that I don't really know how you survive through. Now, something to be worried about, though, is that there is a Shaker in this game. You'd like somebody that's a little bit more mobile from the mid lane, perhaps, because you could die pretty easily. A nice pickup as well would probably, at least for me, would be the mid Tusk, which would be kind of nice. Somebody who can stop the Jug from TP spinning, is a melee laner versus the Void, and again, is a little bit more survivable versus the Shaker. I don't think they're gonna go for it, knowing what KXY has played so far in the tourney. Let's see it. Yeah,
Oh.
it'll just be
Okay.
the last track. Okay. Basic stuff. Good damage in Chrono, but
Yeah.
not what I thought.
Does solve your damage problem. Gives you a little bit more lockdown as well. Not maybe quite as durable as something like a Tusk, but the Lesh does kind of get up there in terms of HP and sometimes some armor as well over the course of a game. So as long as KXY doesn't go 100% greed on his itemization, he should be able to at least tank up a little bit of that incoming damage.
No, for sure. And we get to see what I got an earful of last night when I decided to play Dota 2, that Leshrac Bloodstone is broken and needs to be removed from the game. People are a little bit angry about that change because It is a really nice quality of life change. It turns the hero into a pretty unkillable monster if he can find the units to stick on. And, well, there are going to be birds flying around. I don't know. There isn't the most units that you're going to be able to lifesteal off of, but that's where I think the build-up for Leshrac has only gotten better. And, of course, all it takes for, in this game, get a Ghost Scepter, counter out the Jug, get an Aghanims, get... There's really just infinite build-up for this hero. You just build whatever you need and then we'll see what happens because I think they've got good lockdown. A lot of it, again, is going to fall onto the shoulders of Yuma, but Oscar's going to be able to make some of his own independent plays here and there. Honestly, both sides have very balanced lineups, and to that degree, I think the cut maybe have a slight advantage just because they've got the Wraith Pact hero, and it seems like the team with the Wraith Pact just gets the game going just a little bit faster. But we'll have to see if they can press the issue, and they can especially press for those early Roches, play a very Ravens-like style, because that's the kind of draft that they do have.
Yeah, they've got the ability to play it a little bit more quickly, and they won't have to deal with the same just clear-cut windows that SG will, considering the ults that SG have picked up here. So they can play it a little bit faster. If they can catch SG in between those cooldowns, then there's really not going to be a whole lot that they can do until later in the game. But we'll have to see if the cut actually play up to that pace or not. Because if they don't, well, I don't know. Faceless Void is eventually going to start sort of picking up farm, and then you have to worry.
Yeah, as two DCs.
Oh.
Bye-bye. Uh, hopefully they get back in here soon, but no, that's where the one part of Faceless Void that did not get nerfed is that he will still chrono you. He will still eventually just kill you. Level 20 talent getting nerfed was pretty necessary though. 120 attack speed. I know everybody looked at that and they said, "Oh, 120 attack speed. Hey, is that like a moon shard? Is that like 4,000 gold in Chronosphere?" And then you're like, "Well, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only in Chronosphere, so how good can it be?" And you're like, "No, it's very good. It's very not okay." I don't know if that's gonna be a nerf to change up enough Void's minds and getting the time lock damage, but for that 20 talent, neither of them were ever too bad. But I still think you probably take the attack speed, but nerfed attack speed, thankfully. As DCs and RCs struggling to get back into the server here for Oscar, but we'll see. That's
There goes
also a hero
KXY
that
as well.
you don't want to be lagging on, because that's where the laggy spears come out. You know, that's a hero that is very, very hard to play on ping already, but having connection issues, and you have to play versus a jug in lane too. I don't know. These spears could be sus.
Oh, man. It's with the third attempt now, and Oscar hasn't been able to stay stable, so it's getting a little concerning, shall we say, as KXY is going to make an attempt to get back in here himself. Let's see if they can get at least one of these guys sort of stable enough.
And we get to hear a lot more voice lines now, because they did change it. The community was heard. No more gambling for voice lines. Wasn't enough, I think, of a warning beforehand. Just kind of fell into a lot of people's laps, and some people were eh, justifiably unhappy with it. But now everybody gets everything. Apologies to the guy that spent $400 on a gold Effie, but, you know, what's yours is yours.
This is why anytime Valve releases anything, folks, give it, give it like 2 days before you start throwing money at it, you know? Because every once in a while, they do kind of come back and say, "Oops, our bad." So, you know, don't throw money down that pit right away.
But Kmart, the 3Xs, the 4Xs, that's made in the first 24 hours.
All right, there you go.
See, that's where homie buys up, you know, all of the 67-cent Jakiro immortals because a new Jakiro immortal comes out, and then they all become $2, and you see the money.
Are you trying to short Dota cosmetics, ET? Is that the game you're playing right now?
This is the game that everyone plays. What do you mean?
Yeah,
This
I
is
know.
this
I
is the
used to be
story.
that guy. All right, I'll admit it. I did that, but
Homie lists, you know, 60 60 items all at the same time, all for the same price. The floor rises. You could be that guy.
I was that guy. I regret
Yeah.
nothing.
Uh, all in an effort to make back money to buy battle pass levels because it is just Steam bucks with the
Yeah.
market. But hey, at least it's something. And I opened up $40 worth of capsules, sticker capsules, and I got a slacks and I sold it and I made back $33. So I still lost money, but I'm proud of making anything back.
Oh, not everyone's a fan of the Gamba, but oh, hey, guess what? Dota's happening, by the way, in case you forgot, because we almost did. But bounty runes spawning up in 10 seconds here, so we will mercifully stop talking
Oh,
about the market. As oh, really? Okay.
nice
KXY
little
had the stun
twofer.
going. He's not really in a position to try anything now. He's actually blocked off by the fissure, so wasn't able to get in here. Still faking out the stun. Not going to deploy it, and well, at the end of all of that ET, it's a 2-for-2 split, but that was a lot of damage that Prada took. Ooh,
No,
salve.
yeah. That was pretty nice. You forced
Salve
the
for
salve off the
lane.
Dawnbreaker. Yeah, he's gonna have to buy some items, but ooh, look at that. Blocks the lane. Not every shaker still does this, but he's got 3 mangoes. He's got Fisher's galore. He's gonna be able to really keep himself up. But no, this should be pretty fun, and we'll have to see how Prada decides to play it. He could just tail around moves, just left, right, and center, just trying to stop him. But that's where in lane, if Yuma isn't careful, gets done for a little bit too long. Especially, I think once you get level 2 Aftershock, that barely puts you out of the time walk range. So if they time it correctly, you could actually have a soul assumption just straight up hits and then lasts.
Yeah, that timing is going to be kind of close, but yeah, as you say, I think it might just be doable, but Kim's got to be on point. But he's playing this Earthshaker. That's a hero he is sort of very much familiar with from his previous lineup, so don't think there's going to be too much to worry about there. It's just going to be a matter of really how well they can play defensively against this, because Prada on this Dawnbreaker, yeah, there's a reason why Pause 5 Dawnbreaker hasn't really been popping up as much anymore, ET. I mean, you still are technically a threat with that combo, but it's just not as intimidating as it was before, especially against this lineup, or this lane from the cut that can just dish out damage and stuff.
Yeah, and when you look at like the changes to Dawnbreaker, really they just nerfed a lot of the more core-oriented aspects of the hero. But here you go, level 2. Always talk about this. You get it. You go in. Got the Soul Assumption as well, but that's where Grave Chill is a hell of a spell. Makes you a lot faster, and in a double melee lane, Nick is going to be able to walk out of a lot of these situations.
That was Prada's sort of power spike moment, and he did some nice damage, but well, Lil Nick's got tangos. Prada's looking to go again, though, but he is going to get spotted here. Not really able to do all that much damage. Soul Assumption is not going to hit all that hard either, however, so should just be a reset on that lane for the most part, which means ET, let's swing it somewhere else. We've been looking bot for far too long. Up in the top lane, Scourge, well, should be relatively safe to farm here, right? Pingu is the only one I think really in danger of this combo out of Oscar and LTH.
Yeah, it's really not too fearsome, and you just have to worry about walking just a little bit too far forward. It's where as soon as Scourge hits level 5, he is under absolutely zero danger. Even once he hits level 3, just having his Boots of Speed and probably the slightly better cooldown of Spin, it's just not something he's going to have to be too concerned with, even though there are nice little plays here. Both supports just trying to keep each other's camps blocked as long as they humanly can, while Oscar just last hits versus him. And Oscar does have not only the base damage advantage, but also, as we always talk about, the disruptive aspect of Mars, where you could just knock people off of range creep last hits. Unless you want to spin, it just doesn't end up working out. It's a very annoying hero to play against. And Oscar with 2 bracers, I mean, he's got the damage. He's very tanky.
He's got just a straight-up advantage on damage. LTH even with the occasional Fade Bolt in there. If that hits onto Scourge, then he's dealing with less damage to last hit, so no threat of dying, but Scourge may not have too much fun in terms of the straight-up last hit war, a war that so far Oscar is winning, not by a crazy amount, but he's doing just fine for himself, and LTH is managing to, well, only sap, I guess, a little bit of experience. He is trying to sort of play out of this lane as much as he can, as well, I don't really know if that pull's gonna... Oh, okay. It does catch the aggro on the back end. No, it doesn't. Never mind.
Yeah, and,
unfortunate. And now LTH is gonna die for it.
Yep. Well, Playing around with the creeps. Yeah, that's the cost you do have to pay every once in a while, but you know, what can you do? I ended up looking over at mid just seeing what the XD was all about, but
Hmm.
I couldn't figure out why. It just I think maybe there was a bottle refill or something coming from for Nico. I don't know. Seems like a pretty boring lane mid though. Neither side can really kill the other until level 6 is online. So both of them have raindrops. Both of them have wands. They're effectively the same hero right now.
They are getting close to those level 6s, however, so we might see some movement out of them if they're not willing to sort of uh, go directly at each other. So that might just be the first sort of major move outside of, I guess, the Jug play up in the top lane is down bot. There is a little bit of a skirmish going down here, but Yuma doesn't want to take too much damage there. Still holding that time walk for when the when the soul assumption comes through, so we can just sort of remove that damage immediately.
Yeah. No, it's pretty easy for Yuma to make that play happen. Does pick up the raindrop just in case though, because of course there is a lot of magic damage that you can knock off as well. Goes to escape. Has 2 points up in the time walk, so already working off that cooldown, but interrupts the pull. Very well played from Nick. Just basic stuff. Unfortunately for Nick though, very close level-wise with the Shaker. Kim not having an opportunity to really leave the lane right now as Prod takes a whole bunch of damage.
KXY is here, though. Yeah, Kim
Hello.
did not realize that. Just kind of stuck in a man fight with the opposing support, and all of a sudden, oh, Leshrac shows up. He's very angry, and he does a lot of damage with the Pulse Nova. So there's SG's first kill. Of course, that rotation from KXY does mean that Nico was able to bottle up that regen rune, but the Lesh gets to move while the Void stays in lane. That's kind of the opposite of what you normally expect between those two heroes.
Yeah, and something that KXY really tries to stray away from as well. He does not like to rotate around those real rune timings, and in doing so, well, does he get the cask? He's got the Fisher coming in to help as well, but they need the Maledict, and they've got him.
KXY gonna just try and fight for as long as he can here. He did get Pingu. He's actually not dying. The Maledict may not... Okay, well, that's definitely gonna secure it, as Kim's gonna sacrifice his life for it. But I don't know. If you're the cut... I mean, you lost Kim, you lost Pingu. Nick just got taken down in the bottom lane once they realized that he's by himself there, and... a little bit of an awkward exchange. KXY does eventually die, but it's just a very costly play.
No, that was very expensive, and I think just trying to press the issue a little bit too hard there. And, well, you give the lane over to the Rubik, and Rubik got so much out of that. If you didn't get any of the XP or much of the XP for the Leshrac, well, the Rubik does. And
KXY rotates again.
Okay,
Pingu
running
should
out of mana
here. Oscar goes down in exchange, and KXY, yeah, without the mana, I don't know how much further he wants to go, but he's put both Nico and Scourge in a position where they don't have a crazy amount of health, and they already kind of used a lot of their cooldowns, so that is going to be the end of the fight. But again, well, Witch Doctor goes down, but Oscar falls too, so last time the cut paid too heavy a price, this time the trade does go in their favor.
Yep, slightly better. KXY is still happy, though, that he just gets the gold from that engagement, as Nico, bullied off the rune, is atop. Nope. Gets lucky, but unlucky that there's a Prada there who will just kill it.
He's actually gonna... Okay, he'll take it for himself. Not much he can do with that, to be honest, but hey. Fast Dawnbreaker. Look at her go.
And maybe Nick...
Yeah, hold on a second. There's the Chrono. Do they have the damage for this? He's getting some nice bashes, though, but Kim tries to come in. Can he save the day? No, he can't. Prada gets the kill. And that second TP was apparently canceled, so once they realize we can't save the Visage, they do just decide not to commit. That is Chrono down, I guess, but 8.5 minutes in, what else are you going to use a Chrono for, right?
Yeah, and really, now Yuma, if he wants to, he could just greed out for his Midas, which will be a killer Midas timing. I don't know, it does feel quite nice. I almost can't believe that he got that Starbreaker over the Fisher, because that was a very well-placed Fisher, but just didn't buy enough time, and Nick is gunning for his level 6, but he himself is feeling scared to show in these lanes. Just too much magic damage, and with the Shaker here scouting out, he will feel a little bit more comfortable, but top. Spear back. But here comes the void.
Nico got a nice ward down here as well, so they do have some vision on Oscar. So Nico knows that he can make a move. LTH is gone, so it's Oscar alone. Where's your Remnant? He's not going to throw it out yet. Instead, they get the cask down first. That leads into the Remnant. But there's going to be the Rita. The Spear Stun is there. Oscar's going to try to make a break for it, but neither Scourge nor Nico care in the slightest about Arena. They both jump out of it. The trade does still get made as Pingu gives his life for it. But now Scourge and Nico are on the run, trying to make it through the tree line. It looks like they'll survive and TP home. But elsewhere on the map, that's Yuma picking up his first kill as they bully up onto the Earthshaker.
Yep, bottom lane still going very SG favored. KXY keeps on rotating, which is starting to become funnier and funnier because even though he's finding the return kills, this is a point on Leshek where you could just use Edict on mid and okay, it's a race for the regen rune and Prada will kill it. But this is a great cask.
Okay, KXY's in some serious trouble here. He's trying to get out, but he can't really go
he's
anywhere.
Dead.
Straight dead. Stun from Kim now. Connecting onto Prada. Stolen Dissimilate from LTH, and Nico had to use the Astral Step Charge to get away. Meanwhile, Kim just threw out his ultimate there, trying to lock down LTH, who uses the Stolen Dissimilate to try and get onto Nico, but now he's out of damage. 1 second for Fade Bolt. Can he last? Yes, he can. He gets the kill, and now LTH doesn't care. He says, kill me. I did what I wanted.
Yeah, it's funny because he had the juke spot. He was doing it perfectly, and then it's like, oh, you've got this cheeky ward. Yeah. He'll see it.
There
He'll
you go.
ward.
Yep.
He knows, but still, it's funny that it ends up killing him. But clawing back something and punishing KXY for going for those runes, and again, not really playing for his own game, playing for his teammates, playing more so to get something going on these side lanes. But that's also where Yuma got his Midas. He did greed out for it, and he's going back bottom, but this is just him. There's the Solar Guardian, chained up. Oh, he's so dead.
And now he's got to angle the familiars out of here too. When they pick any of them off, they get one. Yuma gets an extra 100 gold. And they should get the second. Yuma's going to time walk for it. That's... And then he Midases afterwards. Oh, man.
Yeah,
the amount of money.
Top of the net worth.
He didn't get the kill. Prada does grab that, but he gets assist gold. He gets 2 familiars. He gets his Midas down. That gap is starting to widen a little bit. Nico, though, on the move. Let's see what he can find here. Finds the Sentry Ward. They're going to be able to deward that at least, but no opportunities for kills, which brings us back to what you said, ET. It's just kind of funny, because Nico, he's 1-1-5. It's not like he's been inactive. It's just somehow the Void Spirit has been rotating less than the Leshrac, which just isn't really the way it's supposed to go.
Yeah, it's just a case where I think Nico is saying that I don't really have the best damage right now. I'm going to go more for the farming build, push out my waves, and if Leshrac isn't taking his tower, he doesn't really need to be too worried as he just gets stunned up mid, and it's a lot of HP, but should be able to walk out. Does have to get kind of cheeky with it, and dude, Prada is just on point today, and he's level 8. He has gotten so much out of these kills and in these side lanes. He just has not skipped a beat. This is not your passive support who's shoved aside. He is a real damage dealer and a real threat.
And the best part about this, I mean, you take a look at his build, he doesn't even have anything. He's working with boots, a cloak, and a fluffy hat, and he's still 5-1-2. So just getting the absolute maximum out of his kit here. It's been incredibly impressive. Of course, 5-1-2, I'd say 2 or 3 of those kills were technically taken away from Yuma, but in at least one of those circumstances, I don't think they get the kill if Prada doesn't take it away. So, you know, you might as well just get the kill on anyone as opposed to potentially missing out and whiffing on a Chronosphere play. So Prada will enjoy the fruits of his labor. In the meantime, a couple of heroes hanging out here in this bottom lane, looking to see if Nick comes forward, but after getting picked off 3 times now, he's not going forward. No way.
Look at this. Top lane. Bezos Void smoked on. Gotta be really clean with their kill here, but here we go.
First stuns in. They hit him up. There's a Solar Guardian coming in, though, so Yuma's got time. And this is going to get a little bit awkward. Prada should die here. The Omni Slash is going to be deployed, but Chrono's back up. Yuma could try to make a move. And there it is. Chrono connecting. Prada's not even dead yet. Prada may just not go down at all. Double kill for KXY, looking for the triple. Now pushing on to Pingu. It's Yuma who's going to take it, but it's still 3 kills. And Kim, he may not be getting out of here either. Can anyone catch up to him? Oscar does not have a blink, does not have a time. Oh, he goes for it! Now he only gets he only gets Prada and then immediately tips him afterwards. So, as cool as that was to see Kim, aka Moose, go for that, that's 4 for 1 across the entire map.
No, that's a pretty sour trade for you, but your Shaker got maybe another 200 gold to his name, you know, inching ever so closely to that Blink Dagger. You get the bottom tower as well, but really all of that is just so quickly dispelled by, again, Prada. Perfect Solar Guardian, perfect play in. He's got 1500 HP. It's almost not worth it for the cut to try and kill him with how beefy he is. He's just not a target. He's just not someone they can kill just yet, which is funny because it just is not the way that this player especially has had the opportunity to play a lot of these heroes. This is usually the guy that's dying for his team as a ward, but instead he's just become such a key player. And sure, they do start farming quite heavily, and in that downtime, Nick does get very close to that Wraith Pact, and of course, once we get that Wraith Pact, then the question always becomes BKBs, how much you can actually output during these timings where, well, your damage is cut by 30%. Not just that, but just being able to straight up kill the Wraith Pact is also going to be sort of difficult for SG. They don't really have the fastest ranged auto clicker. It's going to be a little bit troublesome, but so we're looking in the mid lane. A lot of tension here. Haste run on Void Spirit. Cart's up as well, but once the cart dies, they're trying to glyph for it, but gonna have the birds to tank in, and here's the Wraith Pact.
Okay, they popped it. They got KXY caught with the Remnant. They're going to try for it. Solar Guardian's coming in too late. This KXY will still fall. Now, Prada's kind of stuck in the middle of this. Is anyone else coming over? Yuma is looking to move, but he has no Chrono, so I don't know how far they really want to go. He's going to try to pop the Dilation there. And now Oscar comes in. Arena's going to get thrown out. They get the Spear stun onto Lil Nick, and they will take him out. Meanwhile, Pingu was channeling out his ult there, not really doing much damage, and then LTH steals it. This looks very strange, but it looks like Pingu will eventually fall. Maybe not. Nico trying to come in. Astral steps forward, but LTH catches him with the telekinesis. He's able to dissimulate himself, though, onto the Rubik for the kill. And now here comes Scourge into the engagement, looking for the first kill. They take down Prada. They want Oscar as well, but Yuma's going to drop his Chrono. At this point, though, Yuma, you can't stay here. He's going to back it off now, but defensive Chrono used on the back end of the fight. The cuts still get really a lot of what they wanted there, especially considering KXY was not even a part of that. He dies right at the very start and didn't do any damage. And now needs to be careful he doesn't die again. There's going to be the stun, but...
Oh, yeah, they just came back here, and if they get him... Oh, no.
Oh,
well,
man. Forgot about Nico. Steals Resonant Pulse. That's nice, but it does not help your Leshrac, who just picked up 2 deaths and lost his tier 1 tower mid.
yeah, and that's where it's just the Healing Ward, the Wraith Pact, the Voodoo Restoration even. The numbers are just a little bit too big for SG to deal with, and it's that 5-man that we always talk about with the Wraith Pact picked up by Visage that always just changes the game, where you just suddenly can afford to take these super long, messy team fights. And then, of course, Nico getting 2 of the real runes. He got a Haste rune, then immediately got a DD rune that was just kind of sitting there in the river, so works out for him. But it's also where if you're SG, you just blew a lot of your spells. You have to now wait. You are way more cooldown reliant than your opponents are, so you can't fall into that trap of, okay, we were ahead by 3k 2 minutes ago, but we don't have our ultis. We're not strong right now. We can look for maybe a play with our Mars. That's why we drafted it, but we can't look for everything right now. And that's where they do have to try and get a Solar Guardian play going together with the Arena, where that play is a little bit more difficult to execute than with the Chronosphere, but gotta be so careful now. And also, KXY just needs to be very cautious. He can't really afford to die again. And looking at his items, he's got Kaya, he's got the point booster. He's closing in, but I don't know. Neither of those build into the Bloodstone rush that I was kind of expecting out of him.
We'll see. Might pick it up later on down the road. For now, though, he needs to either win a fight or focus on farming, because those 2 deaths really did kind of set him back a bit. He's on par with the opposing offlaner in terms of his overall net worth, which obviously is not where he wants to be. But the good news in all of this is that Yuma was still farming. He's still top of the net worth. It's just his gap between himself and the Juggernaut has very much closed. So if you're SG Esports, there's no need to panic, but the next team fight needs to be a little less hectic for them. It just felt like that was a mad scramble around their tier 1 tower.
Yeah, and the scrambled eventually. They lost pretty handedly, just because I think of the few wasted opportunities. But looking over at top, well, Echo was used. Oscar is kind of trapped here, but if he's able to create distance, yeah, he's out. Kim wasn't able to stick on him, and without long range disables, great cover by LTH as well. Okay, Echo down.
Hmm. Good attempt from Kim, but not quite there. They didn't know he had a blink dagger before. They sure as hell know now. Meanwhile, LTH got his hands on the early Aether Lens here as he's going to try to put a little damage onto Kim, and this might actually be a kill. They actually dropped the Chrono, and they did clip onto the Void Spirit. Can they get the secondary kill? Solar Guardian is going to get in there, but he has 2 Astral Step Charges, so they have to keep him locked down, and they do exactly that. Just really the most casual of plays there, turning into a massive Chrono in from Yuma, and now in the river. Pingu just got caught by the spear. Oscar's going to not take him down yet. He's got the Voodoo Switcheroo, but once that ends, they do find the kill. Prada takes it, and that's a quick 3 for SG Esports that opens up a push onto this mid tower. Who's in position to
open the map? Yeah, and this is why Leshrac is such kind of one of those killer heroes, especially in comp, because buildings just are the cost. You can always afford to just look for that next objective, and now SG do have a slight problem, and that's that they can never really force out the Roche too easily. I think maybe once you get a damage-dealing item from Yuma, probably just to complete a Mjolnir, you could force it, but until then, the Cut kind of have that as a play in their back pocket, and we'll see, because that's what the Cut are gunning for right now. If they get a pick on this top side of the map, then immediately they swing for Roche, knowing that you don't have Chrono, you don't have Solar Guardian, and then SG, we're going to be pretty helpless versus it, even though great scan.
Well, with the money that he got from that last engagement, KXY did actually go for the Bloodstone, so he is now going to double back, turn the Kaya into a Kaya Sange, but a little bit of a sidestep there in his own build, but we do get to see just how impactful the Bloodstone will be. We actually did see it in the last Leshrac game as well. It's just, by that point, we were kind of on the very back end, and that Lesh was in so much trouble in those team fights that it didn't really help him. So now on a more even footing, we'll see what KXY can do with it. In the meantime, that was BKB finished off for Yuma, so you have BKB, you have Bloodstone on Lesh. Oscar is working towards his own BKB, but he's already got the Blink, so if they really do need initiation, he is going to be there. And they may need that initiation, ET, because this is a very sneaky Roche attempt out from the Cut. They don't take this quickly, though, so that is going to create a window for SG to get over here.
Yeah, watch Oscar. The Mars is the one that's going to break. He's just going to spin on the Roche's death, but this is just maybe a breath. Oh, he got
stunned.
Remnant.
Oh, Oscar, he's still going to get the arena down, though, but they've got to fight for Roche. Who grabs it? Yuma takes it. The kill does go the way of the Cut, but they don't have the Aegis, and now Scourge, he's got to get the hell out of here, but the Chrono is going to catch him out. He's stuck in this. He's going to go down. They lose Nico, too. Oh, ET, this is the worst possible scenario. Maybe Nick can get out to just spare them something, but it is rough. And Yuma, I think he's going to lose this Aegis potentially if the Maledict takes him down. There's going to be the Voodoo coming out, too. And at this point, I mean, you took that Aegis away, so even if you lose it now, it does not matter. It's done its job.
No, and that was an Aegis you really didn't care about, but oh, it's such a good idea from Scourge. He just goes for the Omni. He needs damage. They try to burst the Mars, but then, of course, the Omnia Mars, all of that just gets tanked up by Bulwark. It gets split between you and the Rubik, and because it's RNG and it bounces you, you end up inadvertently pulling yourself away from the Roshan, where he has to walk up and spin towards Roche to hopefully try and snatch it, and it just doesn't play out for him, while Yuma has the easiest job in the world. Just pops his BKB, sits on top of the Roche, just right-clicks it. The Jug just gets pulled away by maybe 200 units. It's so close, but it doesn't work, and you get punished. And now what was a great forcing play just wasn't fast enough, and maybe if they just veer into the Roche a little bit sooner instead of gunning for that pick, then maybe they get it, just brute strength of the lineup, but that is a huge setback.
See now, net worth-wise, 6K lead for SG, largest lead of the game by far. And a setback that the Cut are going to have to recover from. They do still have some solid team fight to put together here, but, well, not if Nick gets picked off like this. There's the arena. He stone forms the arrow, or excuse me, spear. But does he have help? He needs backup. Scourge is trying to come in, but the telekinesis actually catches him, so Nick really doesn't have backup. And LTH is using a stolen spin to get up onto that fight, but now they're looking to turn. KXY is going to get caught, but Solar Guardian comes in, prevents him from dying. Pingu's the one to fall, but look at that. Kim is in. That's a big ult, but it doesn't kill anyone just yet. They'll finally finish off the Lesh, but it does cost Kim his own life. Nico, though, should be able to get away here, maybe. Yuma, 2 more seconds for a time walk. Gonna have to guess correctly in the trees. Well, okay. Never mind, he's going to dissimulate himself out, but Oscar blinks forward. They still get the hit down, and they are going to track onto this Void Spirit, just never letting him go. And now the KXY kill, it just doesn't matter. 4 for 1, another win for SG. Now they're going to TP mid to try and catch Scourge. I don't know if they do it. Does Yuma have an... Oh, he has Chrono, but he doesn't have mana.
10 mana, though, in Scourge. He has to turn and get it off, but it's... No, it's too late. Fable just, to make sure he has enough damage. As soon as Scourge walked to the low ground there, then there's nothing he could do. As soon as he can't see the Chrono coming, he can't go for the turnaround Omni, but even then, that would have had to be kind of insane timing from the Jug, but yeah, unfortunate. Cutter just kind of getting outplayed right now.
And I mean... You go all the way back to the start of that ET. That whole fight starts with a casual initiation from Oscar onto Nick, and Nick played it well, right? Maybe he gets out, maybe he doesn't, but once the cut bring everyone else to the fight, it's more than that. It turns into the full 5v5, and these 5v5s are not fights that you've been winning, so if you're the cut, maybe now you kind of ease off. There's no need to escalate fights to that sort of scope when you don't have the advantage.
Yeah, and that's where the strength of this new Leshrac, and of course Leshrac is pretty much the only hero that buys Bloodstone at this stage of the game, but you just have so much HP to work with, and with Prada, who's got Holy Locket, who's got Solar Guardian, just being so obnoxious throughout the entire game, is kind of getting seeked out here, and yeah, we'll get his TP stunned, he's getting birded up, and actually both supports getting picked off.
Yeah, both Rubik and Dawnbreaker will fall. They are attempting to catch up to KXY here. There's going to be the Fissure. There's going to be the Omni. Bloodstone is kind of helping, but it's not enough. KXY will fall. That's what the cut really needed at this point, right? Just find fights where you have the numbers advantage or the initiation and work off of that instead of reacting or sometimes overreacting to plays that their opponents were making onto them.
Yeah, that was purely just a punish of SG not actually scouting out and killing this Observer Ward. They just walk to their vision and find a good few picks here. And of course, everything we just talked about with the Leshrac being incredibly tanky and strong is really only there if you can react with the Solar Guardian. Of course, now it is an Ag Scepter Solar Guardian, so that's going to be even more problematic, but a whiff from Oscar as well. Okay, SG, not really connecting.
Okay.
Yeah. Birds are dead, but there is a resummon.
Consolation prize, I guess. 200 gold split between those two, but as you say, Familiar's right back up, and that's Arena down. Of course, you know, the resummon is on a bit of a cooldown itself, but Nick should be able to manage those birds well enough, where that's not going to be a problem. But now for Oscar, well, this is a bit of an interesting one. He's going to go for the Agnum Scepter ability, which we did get to see a little bit the other day. It's a lot of money that a lot of Marses don't really care to spend on it, but the ability to just have that upgraded Bulwark to just stand in front and demand attention and still do damage, in the right circumstances, it looks pretty damn good as... Uh-oh. KXY? Not looking so good here. He's going to have to back out. There's the stun in from Moose, though, but before they can make a move, Pingu gets ambushed.
Yeah, and without Maledict, I think that Lesh kill is a pretty hopeful jump, so instead they just back off, but they're actually looking towards mid again. Yuma TP's out at top, so the rest of the lineup has to follow him, and Nick probably will be able to make his escape here, but Yuma also knows that he's around, because you do have to keep those birds so much closer that those Gravekeeper Cloak debuff does actually show, and the birds actually become very killable, but Nick ducks into the trees, and without that high ground ward, he will be able to escape and then TP and then meet up with his birds. But little does he know, there's a smoked Mars and Rubik, perhaps looking for someone in the triangle, but it looks like that will dissipate in just a few moments here, and we're going to get back to a reset territory.
Do the cut continue pushing forward like this, though? You see all 5 sort of making their way into that south side jungle, so... Well, they make their way over into the woods. The problem is there's no actual target anymore, because SG very quickly trying to shift their focus back up to the north, which has kind of been their stomping grounds for a little bit here, right? They've got the towers taken, obviously. They've got some good vision, just sort of scouting out the entrances there as well, so... At this point, that is basically their territory, part of the reason why the cut are now operating on the south side of the map.
Yeah, and just picked up an Aetherlands on the Shaker. And they do have a fantastic ward that they will be able to scout out, but smoked up yet again here, trying to close that distance. Gotta be so careful. They will settle for Nick if they get him, and they're gonna get 2.
Okay, there's the arena, catching out. Scourge, waiting to see if he can go in here, but there's gonna be that chrono. There is gonna be a remnant into the chrono that kind of slows Yuma down, but it won't be enough. They've already lost moves. Looks like Nick is gonna buy some time with a stone form. The switcheroo comes out from Pingu, though, so that is a nice little bit of damage, but look at the Solar Guardian. He's trying to maneuver it around. It is going to connect, and Scourge, not only does he not find any kills, he doesn't get back out. Now Nick dies too, and... I don't know what it was that Scourge saw in there that made him want to go in, because for the longest time, he was just operating on the edge of that chrono, sort of waiting and watching, but eventually he pulls the trigger, and again... The cut escalate a fight where they don't have the advantage.
Yeah, and they feel like they can take it because Chrono was a little bit wasted, just not able to get many kills, but you were able to take down the Shaker, and I think that's the most important thing. You lose your Echo Slam, you lose a lot of your control, and you lose your Void Spirit as well, because he doesn't have enough confidence to go in unless these heroes are getting stunned. You can't play that touch-and-go style, because... well, they'll just straight up kill you if you get too close, and you don't have a BKB on the Void Spirit, so it ends up being a lot less damage that I think Scourge was perhaps banking on, because he sees the Chrono, he feels like, oh, we should probably be able to take this fight, but then, because there's no Shaker, they end up just having to kind of concede. But kills when Roche wasn't alive, as we always talk about, SG weren't able to immediately get onto an objective, so... doesn't feel the worst, and that's why they smoke, but Kim gets scared. Cold feet, out now.
Probably for the best. They were going to have, at most, 3 heroes in there, going up into what could have been the full 5 on the high ground of SG, so... Cold feet, probably going to work in their favor. Kim says, not feeling it, but they're still hanging out heroes in the middle lane. Nico is trying to keep that creep wave pushed out, which... at this point does become pretty important, with Roche only 20 seconds away from respawning, but... you have to be so unbelievably careful, because if Nico gets caught, a fight around the Roche pit just really isn't going to be as feasible for the cut. They can't afford to lose any cores at this point.
No, they cannot, and 5-man smoke. They don't need to 5-man smoke necessarily on SG. I'm surprised that Prada isn't finding a lane to just sit in and push out while the rest of the lineup makes moves, but Pingu, as Blink Dagger, will pop the smoke, gets away. Very nice from him. Void is still smoked, so a little bit scary, but this is also just dewarding, and they will scout Roche, and now the cut are the ones that need to get this information, and it looks like they're prepping a smoke on their own side, but they do have to go.
Yeah, it's too slow. Already down to about, what, 2/3 of its HP before they start moving, and they actually aren't smoked right now.
Yeah, they don't have one. It would have come out late on the courier, but
they're not
now
even going
this
towards
is
Roche
just free
anymore.
Roche. Yeah, not pretty.
They were all grouped up and thinking about it. It's like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And then presumably one of the supports says, guys, we don't have any smokes. We can't smoke. And they're just going to have to bail on the play. Aegis into the hands of Yuma. Oscar's the one to take the shard here. So, well, yeah, why not, right? Oscar's initiations have not been back-breaking to this point, but yeah, he's been doing well enough where, you know, the spear onto 2 could do some nice work. Although KXY, yeah, he's alone in the middle lane. They are going to make the jump. They throw quite a bit out onto him, both the Echo Slam and the Death Ward being used there. But hey, that is a massive kill. Now there's no Leshrac to be the battering ram here in this top lane, so if this push even comes, it's not going to be nearly as effective as Oscar. Just going to pick a couple of pokes with his spear, but half the lineup just TP'd body T, so they're really split across the map, and Yuma, well, I don't think he wants to commit the chrono in there, so real opportunity here for the cut to try and get away, but there's going to be the chrono. Okay. He does commit it eventually, but does he have enough? Nico's still alive, but the Fade Bolt's going to come in to help, and oh, now they're looking for more. Pingu, yeah, they saw you. Tried to throw the cask in there, but that just reveals his location.
Yeah, and even though Chrono is used, another batch of kills for Yuma. Yuma's gonna be 25 soon. He's just
Oh,
so
boy.
massive, and then of course, backtrack's gonna make him even more difficult to kill. But we'll have to see, because yeah, without the Leshrac again, can't really push down these objectives too easily. It is a little bit of a struggle for them, as well as I think at this point might just buy the boots of travel on the Leshrac to get him back onto these lanes a little bit faster. But if the cut can keep on finding him, that will almost inherently delay this game and give them a little bit more time, just keeping him sidelined as long as you can. I almost wish that they can keep on finding him, so that way this game doesn't just straight up end. But that's also where all SG needs to do is find a kill, find a pickup on the cut side of the map, and then Leshrac walks in, and then everything dies.
Right. The base defense is looking a little bit iffy if it's the Leshrac who's knocking on the doors. Up in the top lane, well, they do spot Kim here. Not a whole lot that can be done. He did get his ult back up, but he couldn't kill anyone even if he popped it, so he will hold his fire. The pick comes through, and now they're going to look for little Nick here as well. There's going to be the slow from the lightning storm into the stun. Yuma's in for the time dilation as well, and there is absolutely no way Nick's getting out of here at this point, although they just spotted Scourge. They're going to try and hit him up as well. Can they bash him in his spin? They can once or twice, and now with the Solar Guardian coming in as well, Nick is going to fall, and Scourge is in trouble. He has to Omni Slash himself just to avoid that initial damage. Nico's going to try to come in to help, but it's just not going to matter. Scourge is gone, and Nico needs to get the hell out of dodge.
And even though there is a creep wave mid, they're not going to be able to connect on that one. They will instead have to go in through the bottom lane, which also doesn't feel too bad.
Nico, don't stop
And
the farm.
Well, they're pinging him. LTH. Oh, they want to kill the Rubik so badly. He has Fisher still, and well, there you go. The Aftershock. That's why this is something you cannot allow LTH to get, but he swiped it out, and now LTH is the most fearsome hero on the map. And mid, well, got the Spear Arena. Oscar gets a kill as well, and they're all dead. The cut are no longer living, and, well, onto the tier 3s.
ET, he was safe. He was so safe. He stops to farm one camp. Just one camp. And it costs Nico his life. That leads then into the further kills. And, okay, maybe they couldn't take a fight if you're the cut, even if Nico lived, but you'd at least have someone alive to act as some sort of deterrent here. Because without anyone alive, SG, this is free. They're just in. They're even splitting their focus between the lanes because they know that they can get both before the cut's at full strength.
Fisher on Fisher action, but you have Chronosphere. Be very careful to cut if he gets any wind of you. And oh, if he knew, he just didn't have the vision there, but he would have blown his Chrono on that, and that would have been just more kills that they would have been able to play over.
There it is.
Okay, still found something in Nick.
Can they save focus. Him? Well, not with the BKB being activated. Nick is in some trouble. Nick is going to go down. No buyback available. Yuma now onto Pingu. They're going to find the secondary kill. Oscar's thinking about going on to Scourge, but that is a little bit far. That's diving tier 4s, so he is going to back off, but that upgraded Bulwark is just making it so that no one from the cut wants to go in onto him. They will try into KXY, but I don't know if this is a great idea. He's healing up so much with the Bloodstone while Yuma does work on the back line. Oscar now comes in as well. They're going to be able to take out Nico. Scourge drop low. Scourge taken down, and that's it. GG called. SG Esports. It's now a 10-game winning streak, ET. They are at the absolute top of their game.
No, just super solid game from Yuma. Again, stand-in situation for the cut. Aren't able to play with B-God, which is kind of unfortunate because another roster that also feels pretty warm in this tournament. But no, SG just looked too good. They looked too solid, abusing the Bloodstone on KXY, on Leshrac, just making it look so nice. But then they've got some classics. They have Mars Rubik. They've got Yuma Faceless Void. Prada balling out control as well. Everybody just had a great individual performance where I think on the cut, just a little bit too slow, a little bit of, I think, a misstep when it comes to some of their decision making as well. You know, you look back at the first Roche, how everything just kind of blows up in their face, how the cut weren't able to get it as cleanly. And then everything after that, I think just a few uncharacteristic mid-game deaths for Scourge himself. I think he just ended up, trying to press the issue a little bit too much. Goes down, doesn't end up nearly as farmed as he really is in a lot of his other games, and because he's a very selfish carry player, well, you're playing against a very selfish carry player as well, just doesn't have, I think, enough going for him in this game. And of course, Yuma Faceless Void, it looks good. Doesn't take the 20 talent where he gets the attack speed and Chronosphere, but time lock damage didn't change, so Yuma doesn't feel really bothered in the slightest. But yeah, just great draft, great play from SG.
And once again, Yuma pitches a perfect game at 14-0-19 across this 10-game winning streak. This is now the 6th time, I think, that he has had a 0-death game. So he's hot. The team's hot. Prada turns a position 5 Dawnbreaker into what looked like a core at 9-4-21. So they are just unbelievably stacked right now with this current iteration of the lineup. And the question for the cut is now, what adjustments do they make? How do they look to bounce back? Because we mentioned at the start, ET, they only need 1 point out of this series to get upper bracket. So game 2 could be their redemption arc, but you're going to have to put together something stronger than this.
Yeah, and I don't know. Of course, once we get into the lobby, we'll have to see what the pick position is, but maybe they don't go for the Shaker. Maybe they instead just turn the draft around and perhaps try Marcy Visage instead. I don't know. I feel like in lane, we just didn't see anything kind of work. They just ended up walking away. Prada got way too much. The Dawnbreaker was too effective as a stopper, and I think Nick just didn't find enough time or space. And maybe even it's time to retire the Visage and then look for a hero like the Beastmaster that we've seen so many times picked up in that same position, but just could probably lane a little bit better versus Faceless Void because you have that stacking damage. Who knows? Too many hypotheticals. They're going to look for that mental reset and just come on into game 2 with maybe a slightly different idea, but I think they're still going to rest on their laurels a little bit.
Well, we will have to wait and see. Game 2 coming up next in really just a couple of minutes. So stick around, folks. We'll be right back with the start of that draft.